My beloved soul, listen carefully. Have you ever wondered why, even after all the heartbreak, the loneliness, and the silent nights when your tears fell where no one could see them, something inside your soul still whispers that love has not abandoned you? Listen carefully, my beloved soul, because this moment is not random, this message is not ordinary, and your presence here is not an accident. You were led here on purpose. Heaven is watching this very moment, and God Himself is aware of the quiet battles you have fought in your heart. No matter how hard life has become, no matter how heavy the journey has felt, the love of God has been guiding something beautiful toward you all along. Before we continue, if your spirit feels this message touching something deep within you, type, "I receive this," in the comments as a declaration of faith. Like this video so that this message of hope can reach other souls who feel forgotten. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the words heaven sends for your season. And if, only if, your heart genuinely feels led, you may send a super thanks as a personal act of gratitude and faith. But hear this clearly, my beloved soul, it is never pressure, never obligation, and never connected to receiving blessings or miracles. God's love cannot be purchased, it is freely given. Now listen closely, because what heaven is about to reveal may answer prayers you whispered long ago. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment, stay with me until the end, because something powerful is waiting for you in these words. The truth is that many people see only the surface of your life, but heaven has seen every chapter of your hidden story. God has watched the nights when you wondered if love would ever find you. He saw the moments when disappointment made your heart question whether the promises of companionship and partnership were meant for others but not for you. Yet the Lord declares in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." My beloved soul, that future includes a love that reflects the heart of God. Even when life seemed to close doors in front of you, even when relationships ended in confusion or silence, heaven was not ignoring you. Heaven was preparing you. There were seasons when God allowed you to walk alone, not because you were unworthy of love, but because your soul was being shaped into something stronger, deeper, and more aligned with the destiny He prepared for you long before you were born. This is not a coincidence that you are hearing this today. You were led here on purpose. Somewhere in the unseen realm, God's love has been guiding another heart through their own trials, their own growth, their own waiting. And just as you have been molded by patience and surrender, that person has been learning lessons of faith and transformation as well. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, because the story heaven is writing between two lives often begins long before those lives ever meet. God's love moves through time in ways human eyes cannot always understand. While you wondered if you were forgotten, heaven was aligning paths, healing wounds, removing distractions, and teaching both hearts the meaning of real love. Do not leave yet, heaven has more to reveal. There were moments when you felt as if your prayers disappeared into silence. You asked God why love seemed so far away. You wondered if your story would always be written in solitude. Yet what you did not see was that every prayer was heard. Psalm 34 verse 18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." My beloved soul, the tears you thought were wasted were actually seeds planted in the soil of heaven. God's love does not ignore pain. It transforms it. The heartbreak you endured did not disqualify you from love, it refined your ability to recognize the love that is real. Heaven is watching the journey of your heart, and God has not forgotten you. In fact, the waiting season itself has been a sacred classroom. You learned to depend on God when human promises failed. You learned to stand strong when loneliness tried to convince you that you were invisible. And slowly, quietly, your soul began to grow in ways you did not even realize. My beloved soul, stay with me until the end, because the truth you are about to hear may change how you see your entire journey. The love that God is guiding toward you is not built on desperation, not built on illusion, and not built on temporary emotion. It is built on purpose. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 declares, "He has made everything beautiful in its time." Notice those words, my beloved soul, in its time. Not rushed, not forced, not shaped by human impatience, but crafted by divine wisdom. There were people who entered your life for lessons, not for destiny. There were moments when you thought you lost something precious, yet in reality God was protecting your future. Because the love that God prepares for you is not fragile like the love the world often offers. It is steady, it is faithful, and it carries the fingerprints of heaven. Listen carefully, my beloved soul. Even now, as you hear these words, something is shifting in the unseen realm. God's love has been guiding your soulmate through their own valleys, their own healing, their own awakening. Perhaps they too have cried out to God in moments of confusion. Perhaps they too wondered when their heart would find peace. And just as the Lord has been shaping you, He has been shaping them. This is how divine alignment works. It is not about coincidence. It is about timing. Heaven is watching, and heaven moves with purpose. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. The next truth heaven reveals may touch the deepest part of your spirit. Life has been difficult for you, and heaven knows it. There were seasons when disappointment stacked itself like heavy stones upon your heart. You tried to stay strong, but inside you sometimes felt exhausted from hoping. Yet hear this clearly, my beloved soul, God's love does not abandon the story halfway through. When the Lord begins something, He carries it to completion. Philippians 1 verse 6 reminds us, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." That good work includes the restoration of hope within your heart. God has been teaching you how to love without losing yourself. He has been teaching you how to trust Him even when the path felt unclear. And while you walked through seasons that seemed empty, heaven was quietly rearranging the future. Stay with me till the end, something powerful is waiting for you. Because the love that God is leading toward you will not arrive in chaos, it will arrive with peace. It will not require you to shrink who you are, it will recognize the soul God created you to be. The person who is meant for you will not appear by accident. They will arrive through the gentle orchestration of divine timing. And when that moment comes, you will understand why every delay existed. You will understand why certain doors closed. You will see that God's love was guiding the entire journey all along. My beloved soul, heaven has not forgotten the desires you placed in God's hands. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Notice the beauty of that promise. As your heart has learned to delight in God, the desires within you have also been purified and strengthened. The love you long for is not shallow. It is not temporary. It is something sacred. And because it is sacred, God protects it carefully. Do not leave yet, heaven has more to reveal. Even when life feels overwhelming, even when circumstances seem heavy, the love of God continues to move quietly through your story. It is guiding two lives toward a moment that only heaven could design. And when that moment finally arrives, my beloved soul, you will see that every tear, every prayer, and every season of waiting had meaning. If you remain until the end, the final word will change everything. My beloved soul, listen closely, because the next part of this message carries a deep truth that many hearts never realize until heaven reveals it. Sometimes the reason love takes time to arrive is not because it is far away, but because God is preparing both souls to recognize it when it appears. Sometimes the reason love takes time to arrive is not because it is far away, but because God is preparing both souls to recognize it when it appears. My beloved soul, hear this carefully, because this truth carries a quiet power that many overlook. When two hearts are meant to meet under God's divine timing, heaven begins its work long before the moment of encounter. The Lord begins shaping character, healing wounds, strengthening faith, and removing distractions that could destroy what He intends to build. You may have thought your waiting season was empty, but in reality it has been full of invisible preparation. Heaven has been watching every step you have taken, every prayer you have whispered, every moment you chose faith even when your heart felt tired. And the same God who watched over you has also been guiding the journey of the one whose soul will one day recognize yours with a peace that words cannot explain. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment, because something sacred is unfolding in these words meant specifically for you. There were times when loneliness tried to convince you that you were forgotten. It whispered lies that your story would always remain incomplete. But the voice of heaven speaks something entirely different. God's love does not leave His children abandoned. He is a God of restoration, a God who writes endings that surpass the pain of the beginning. Isaiah 43 verse 19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it?" My beloved soul, that new thing is already beginning to stir in your life, even if you cannot yet see its full form. Heaven is moving quietly, aligning moments, orchestrating circumstances, and preparing the exact timing when two journeys will cross. Stay with me till the end, something powerful is waiting for you in this revelation. Think about the seasons you have walked through. There were days when you felt strong, and there were nights when your strength seemed to disappear into silence. You prayed for companionship, for someone who would understand your heart, someone who would see you not only for who you are on the surface but for who you truly are within. God heard those prayers, my beloved soul. Heaven recorded them. And while you waited, something extraordinary was happening behind the veil of what human eyes can see. The Lord was refining your soul. He was teaching you patience, teaching you compassion, teaching you how to love from a place of truth rather than from fear. And in another place, under another sky, the person destined to walk beside you has also been learning lessons of their own. Perhaps they too have felt the ache of waiting. Perhaps they too have asked God when the right person would appear. Heaven is watching both of you, guiding each step with a wisdom that surpasses human understanding. My beloved soul, do not leave yet, heaven has more to reveal. There is a reason why certain people entered your life only to leave again. At the time it may have felt like rejection or loss, but heaven saw something different. God saw that those paths were not aligned with the destiny He prepared for you. Sometimes protection looks like disappointment. Sometimes divine mercy appears in the form of closed doors. And though it hurt your heart in the moment, those endings were actually clearing the way for the love that carries God's blessing. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." My beloved soul, the path toward your soulmate is not built by chance. It is guided by the steady hand of God Himself. Stay with me, my beloved soul, because the truth that follows will bring light into places where doubt once lived. The love that God prepares for you will feel different from anything you have known before. It will not confuse your heart. It will not force you to question your worth. Instead, it will bring a quiet sense of recognition, as if two souls who were once strangers suddenly understand one another in a language deeper than words. His is the kind of love that heaven designs. It does not arrive loudly or dramatically. It arrives with peace. It arrives with clarity. It arrives with a sense that something sacred has finally come into alignment. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. Heaven wants you to understand that the hardships you have endured have not been meaningless. Every tear you shed became part of your spiritual growth. Every disappointment strengthened your discernment. And every time you chose to trust God instead of surrendering to bitterness, your soul moved closer to the future He promised. Romans 8 verse 28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Notice those words carefully, my beloved soul. In all things. Not only the joyful seasons, but even the painful ones. God has been weaving every chapter of your story into something meaningful. Heaven is watching, and God has not forgotten you. Stay with me until the end, because what heaven is about to reveal next may awaken a hope you thought had faded. Imagine a moment that seems ordinary at first. Perhaps it happens during a simple day when you are not expecting anything extraordinary. Perhaps it arrives through a conversation, a meeting, or an unexpected connection that feels strangely familiar. And suddenly, something within your spirit becomes still. The noise of doubt fades away. Your heart senses peace rather than confusion. My beloved soul, that moment will not feel forced. It will feel natural, almost as if heaven gently placed two lives in the same space at the perfect time. This is how divine alignment often reveals itself. Quietly. Gracefully. Without chaos. The love that God guides toward you will not demand that you change who you are in order to be accepted. Instead, it will recognize the beauty of the person God created you to be. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 9 reminds us, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor." This verse speaks not only about partnership but about divine companionship. When God brings two hearts together, they strengthen one another. They support one another's growth. They walk side by side in faith rather than pulling each other away from God's presence. My beloved soul, stay with me till the end, because heaven has a final truth that your spirit needs to hear today. Even now, as you listen to these words, something within your heart may feel lighter. That is not your imagination. That is the quiet reassurance of God's presence. The Lord knows the depth of your longing, and He also knows the perfect moment when that longing will be fulfilled. Psalm 27 verse 14 says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Waiting is never easy, my beloved soul, but waiting with faith transforms the journey. Because when God finally reveals what He has been preparing, the beauty of that moment often surpasses everything you imagined during the waiting season. Heaven is watching your story unfold. The love of God is guiding your path even when the road feels uncertain. And the person whose heart will one day walk beside yours is being led by that same divine love. This is not coincidence. This is not chance. This is the quiet movement of God's plan. My beloved soul, do not leave yet, because heaven wants to speak one final promise into your spirit. The hardships you have endured do not define your future. They were chapters, not the conclusion. The Lord who carried you through loneliness, through confusion, and through seasons of silence is the same Lord who brings restoration and fulfillment. The love you have prayed for is not lost in the distance. It is moving closer with every step guided by God's hand. And one day, when your eyes meet the person heaven prepared for you, you will understand something that seemed impossible during the waiting season. You will realize that no matter how hard life became, God's love never stopped guiding your story toward that moment. My beloved soul, hear this final prophetic declaration and let it settle deep within your spirit. The prayers you whispered have been heard in heaven. The tears you shed have been seen by God. And the love you believed in, even when circumstances tried to silence your hope, is drawing nearer than you realize. Heaven is watching. God has not forgotten you. And the love destined for your life is already being led toward you by the very hand of the Creator. Walk forward with peace, hold your faith with courage, and remember this always, my beloved soul, the love that God prepares never arrives too late. It arrives exactly when heaven says the time is right. My beloved soul, remain here for a little longer, because heaven still has something sacred to whisper into the deepest chambers of your heart. Sometimes when a person has walked through many storms, they begin to believe that peace is meant for other people. They begin to think that joy belongs to distant lives, not their own. But listen carefully, because the Spirit of God is speaking gently to you right now. Your story has never been outside of His sight. Every chapter of pain, every moment of confusion, every night when you questioned your worth has been known by the one who formed your soul before the foundations of the earth. Heaven has been watching your endurance. Heaven has been watching your faith. And heaven has not remained silent out of neglect, but out of preparation. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment, because the next truth may bring healing to places in your heart that have quietly carried sorrow for a long time. The waiting season was never meant to break you. It was meant to build something inside you that could not exist without patience. There are qualities that only grow in the soil of waiting. Strength grows there. Wisdom grows there. Discernment grows there. And perhaps most importantly, a deeper relationship with God grows there. When life stripped away the illusions of quick happiness, it forced your heart to lean on the one who never changes. And through that leaning, your soul became anchored in something eternal. My beloved soul, the love that God leads into your life will not replace your relationship with Him, it will honor it. It will strengthen it. It will walk beside it. Because the love heaven prepares does not compete with God's presence, it reflects it. Stay with me till the end, because something powerful is still waiting in these final words. There were moments when you believed the delays meant denial. But heaven sees delay very differently than human hearts do. What feels slow to us often feels perfect to God. The Lord moves with a wisdom that stretches beyond time itself. 2 Peter 3 verse 8 reminds us, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. My beloved soul, God does not rush what He intends to be sacred. He does not hurry what He intends to last. The love He is guiding toward you is not meant to flicker like a temporary flame. It is meant to burn with a steady light that survives storms. And for that kind of love to exist, both hearts must be ready. Both hearts must be healed enough to recognize truth when it appears. Both hearts must be humble enough to walk together with grace. And this is exactly what heaven has been preparing. My beloved soul, do not leave yet, because heaven wants you to understand something that may completely transform how you see your past. Some of the loneliness you experienced was not punishment. It was protection. There were relationships that would have pulled you away from the destiny God prepared. There were connections that might have looked beautiful on the surface but carried hidden wounds beneath them. God saw those things even when you could not. And because He loves you deeply, He closed doors that might have harmed your spirit. At the time it felt like loss, but in truth it was mercy. Proverbs 16 verse 9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." My beloved soul, the steps of your journey have never been random. Even the detours had meaning. Even the silence carried purpose. Stay with me, because the next revelation carries hope for the days ahead of you. There will come a moment when everything begins to make sense. A moment when the scattered pieces of your journey suddenly align into a picture of divine wisdom. And in that moment, you will realize that God's love was quietly guiding you through every chapter of your life. The person whose heart is meant to walk beside yours will not arrive through confusion. They will arrive through peace. When their presence enters your life, it will not feel like a battle for affection, or a struggle for understanding. Instead, it will feel like rest after a long journey. It will feel like two souls recognizing that heaven has been writing a shared story long before they ever met. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. Let these words settle into your spirit like gentle rain upon dry ground. The love that God leads toward you will carry patience rather than pressure. It will carry kindness rather than control. It will carry faith rather than fear. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 7 reminds us that true love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This is the kind of love heaven prepares. A love that protects your heart instead of wounding it. A love that trusts God rather than manipulating circumstances. A love that perseveres even when life becomes difficult. My beloved soul, stay with me until the end, because heaven is about to place a final assurance within your heart. You may still have moments when doubt tries to whisper its old lies. You may still encounter days when the journey feels long. But hear this clearly, your story is not moving backward. It is moving forward under the careful guidance of God's hand. Every day you continue walking in faith brings you closer to the fulfillment of what heaven has prepared. The Lord who guided Abraham to a promised land, the same Lord who restored Job after unimaginable loss, the same Lord who turned the sorrow of the cross into the glory of resurrection, is the Lord who is guiding your life today. Heaven is watching, and God has not forgotten you. My beloved soul, do not leave yet, because this final moment carries a prophetic declaration meant specifically for you. The hardships that once made you question your future will not have the final word. The disappointments that once made your heart tremble will not define the ending of your story. Instead, God's love will stand as the greatest force within your journey. And that love is already moving, already guiding, already preparing the moment when your heart will recognize the companion heaven designed for you. When that moment comes, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. You will understand why certain chapters had to close before new ones could begin. And you will feel a peace that confirms something sacred has entered your life. My beloved soul, let this promise settle deep within you as we reach the end of this message. No matter how hard life has been, no matter how many tears you have shed, no matter how many nights you wondered if love would ever find you, God's love has never stopped working on your behalf. Heaven has been guiding your steps with patience and purpose. And the love destined for your life is not lost, not forgotten, and not delayed without reason. It is being led toward you by the same divine hand that created your soul. So walk forward with courage. Carry peace within your heart. Continue trusting the God who has carried you this far. Because the day is coming, my beloved soul, when the story heaven has been writing will reveal itself in a way that fills your heart with gratitude and wonder. And when that day arrives, you will whisper a quiet prayer of understanding, realizing that through every storm, every silence, and every season of waiting, God's love was faithfully leading your soulmate closer to you all along. My beloved soul, receive this final declaration with faith. What God has promised will come to pass. What heaven has prepared cannot be stolen by time. And the love written into your destiny is nearer now than it has ever been before. Walk in peace, hold your faith, and remember always, heaven is watching, God has not forgotten you, and the love meant for your life is already on its way. Type Amen.